Hi, first grade. Last week we learned how to tell time to the hour. And this week we're learning how to tell time to the half hour. Half hour is just halfway into an hour, or 30 minutes. We learned that on a clock there are the two hands. We have the longer one, which is the minute hand, and then we have the shorter one, which is the hour hand. The minute hand is always pointing to the number 6 when we're telling time to the half hour, just like this one is right here. Because 6 is halfway to 12. It's halfway around the clock. So anytime you see the minute hand pointing to the number 6, you know that it is 30 minutes into the hour. Now, our hour hand is the smaller one. It's shorter. In the hour hand, we learned that when we're telling time to the half hour, that the hour hand doesn't just stay on one number the whole hour. It has a space for each hour that it moves from. And even though it moves away from that hour that it was pointing to, until it gets to that next number right on top of it, it's not the next hour yet. So this right here on our anchor chart is the space for the 10th hour. Here are the spaces for each hour on the clock that we went over yesterday. We just saw the 10th hour on our anchor chart, but there are so many different spaces because there are 12 hours on our clock. There are 12 numbers that stand for 12 hours. So our space for the 12 is from the 12 to the 1. The space for the first hour is from the 1 to the 2. The space from the second hour is from the 2 to the 3. The space for the third hour is 3 to 4, and it just keeps going. It's a pattern. But just because the hour hand is in between two numbers does not mean that it's not pointing to a certain number. It has to be in a space for the hour before that. Now today we're going to practice reading a clock and seeing what time it is. So let's look at this first example, and I want you to watch me do it. This first clock right here, we see that there's the hour hand. The hour hand is the shorter one, and then the minute hand is the longer one. Okay, we first read the hour. So I'm looking at the hour hand, and I can see that it is in between 4 and 5. But that's okay, because I learned yesterday that even though this hour hand is not pointing directly to one of these numbers, if it's in the middle, it means that it is the 4th hour. It's in between 4 and 5, but it's not 5 yet, so it has to be 4. So my hour is 4 on this clock. Now I'm going to look at my minute hand. Well, I know it's pointing to my 6, and I've learned this week that any time that my minute hand is pointing to the 6, it is halfway into the hour, which means my minutes are 30. 30 minutes. 4:30 is what this clock says. Now this next one I want you to help me with. We're going to read the clock and see what time it is. We're going to start with our hour hand. Now what two numbers is our hour hand in between? What two numbers? Here's our hour hand. That's right, it's in between my 2 and my 3. So can you tell me what hour this clock is showing? It's okay that it's in between two numbers, but I know it's not all the way to 3 yet, so what hour is it? Good, it's the 2nd hour. It's not 3rd hour until it gets all the way to the 3. Good, now let's look at our minute hand. It's pointing to the 6, so what are my minutes for this clock? What is this clock saying for minutes? Good, 30. We learned this week that any time the minute hand is pointing to the 6, it is 30 minutes into the hour. So we are 2:30, or 2:30 is the time. Okay, last one, I want you guys to do this one by yourself. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to decide what time this clock is showing. You can either write it down on a piece of paper for more practice on writing it, or you can just think it in your head, but push pause to think it, and then push play when you're ready to move on. Don't push play until you have a time in your head. Okay, did you pause the video, and do you have a time in your head on what you think this clock shows? Great. Let's review. Let's see if you are right. Remember, we're practicing, so it's okay if you don't get it correct. That's why we're learning. The first thing you should have done is looked at the hour hand and seen that this hour hand is pointing in the middle of two numbers, 10 and 11. If it's not all the way to 11 yet, that means we're still in the 10th hour. So my hour is 10. Is that what you decided? Oh, you're so smart. Okay, the next thing you should have done is looked at the minute hand. And you should have said, oh my goodness, I know that the minute hand is pointing to the 6, which means it is 30 minutes into the hour. Is that what you did too? I bet. Okay, well, you should have thought that this clock is showing 10:30. If you did, give me 2 thumbs up. Great job. Today, in this week, we have learned how to tell time to the half hour. We remember that the hour hand can be pointing in the middle of two numbers, and that's okay. If it hasn't reached the next number yet, it's still the number right before it. And our minute hand is always going to be pointing to the 6 when we are halfway to the next hour. Okay, it will always be 30 minutes if it's pointing to the 6, because remember, around our clock, we count by 5s for minutes. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes is the 6 number. Great job, first grade. You have a quiz to show what you've learned today and to decide what time a clock is showing. I can't wait to see what all you guys have learned. Bye.